Hey, this is diys-by-dar, and this is my first thrift flipping of items for my booth in the way of smalls. I'll put a link to the description of the original haul. And in this, I had some picture frames. This was damaged, a solid oak frame, and it needed to be repaired. This was a nice frame, but the backing was a little bit rough. So I'm going to go ahead and take that solid oak wood frame and re-glue that. Take it apart, and I have some Gorilla wood glue, which I'm going to apply in all the areas that are loose and put it back together. Then I am going to take a nice little wooden hammer that I did receive from my friend Greg at This Flippin' Furniture, which I love this little wooden hammer. It works great. Once I had it all tapped in and even and back together, nice and solid, I am going to let it dry overnight before I start working on it. I have some Bullseye water-based sealer and primer, and I am going to take care of the backs of these so I can apply the transfers that I want to put on the top. I want to make sure that they stay stuck on the back. And I always brush away when I'm working on an edge, then that way I don't have to tape it. Now the small picture frame had some rivets, and I just kind of covered them a little bit with some fill because I didn't want that transfer to be distorted too much. And here again, I'm going to prime it with 2 coats. And when I get to that edge, I always brush away from the edge lightly, and it works out pretty good. Now I have the 3 framed picture frame, and I'm putting the mat down on its backing, and I am just drawing in lightly with the pencil where I need that transfer to sit. So when I put it back together, everything is squared up and even, and it looks really nice. These are the 3 transfers that I am going to put in here. Very pretty. I like them really well. I seem to be having a thing with fairies lately. So I'm going to put these transfers on, and with transfers, you know, rub, rub, rub. If it does not come off and lay down correct, just put your paper back down over the top and rub some more. And here I have it. They're all on. And here's just a little bit of a close-up of what the pictures look like. Very magical, very fantasy. I went ahead and painted 2 coats of Boss primer all over the oak frame and just on the front of the small frame to get it ready for painting. Well, I got the little frame done and the picture in, it's all ready to go. And oh, I just love it. It is so cool. All I did was clean it up, put some brown wax around it, and then some copper gilding wax around the outside edge. And then the back, of course, I just went ahead and I repainted with some Anchor paint, which is silk paint, so I don't have to worry about a top coat. I got the big frame done. It looks really good. I tried to match the color a bit. I'm off a bit. I did a mix of some silk paint. I did Hampton Olive and Wharf, and those are both silk paint, so I don't have to put a top coat on. I got my pictures are all in on the backs. I just have it set in there, and boy, that silk paint's just beautiful. But now I have this idea of all these embellishments I want to put on the outside of this frame to make it really magical and fantasy type. And I should have put them on before I did the paint, but I just wasn't thinking. So Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make those and put those on and have to repaint those. So let's get into that. Of course, I'm going to use DOS on this because you can mold it around things much better than a resin. I am putting in my starch. This is quite a large flourish, and it has a lot of appendages with little small curls on it, so make sure you get that starch in all them little areas or you might lose a piece, which I did on this one. I take my clay and I form it to the shape in one piece before I start pressing it in. I try to use one solid piece of clay so I don't get any cracks in it, which will have it lead to cracking and breaking when you're trying to take it out of the mold. As I work my way down, I just pinch up any extra and hang on to it. If I need it someplace else on the way down, or when I finally get to the end, I'm just going to take and grab it and just pinch the whole thing off. Pressing it down firmly in all them little areas is what you need to do. And I'm going to take my knife, work away, start at the center, work away from yourself, go even, let that dull knife slide over the top of that clay, and you get a pretty nice even top on it. And then you can go back and press it down in, clean up around the edges, because the less you have out of that mold's perimeter, the less you have to clean up after you pop that mold out. Now I am removing it on a piece of cardboard because this is going to make it easy for me to flip it over. It's almost a 90-degree bend on that silicone mold to get that to drop off. If you need to coax it out a bit with your finger, go ahead. If you have little areas that are really sunk in, push on them. You can see there, I just lost one. It would not come out. So I had to decide, should I keep going? You can see it right there between my fingers. I decided to go ahead and just keep going. And when I got to that area on the mold itself, I would just round it out with my finger. I just really didn't want to press the whole thing again. And just slowly go, bending it, lifting it almost at a 90-degree angle, and you're rolling that mold away. There's that spot that broke off. Tight bond, quick and thick, always the best for molds. I'll be able to flip that now off of that paper and have it supported on the full length of my fingers and my hand. Get that glue on there and spread it all the way to the edges, all the way down your little appendages. And it's not often I get a jar of glue where it spreads nicely. I did have to flip it over on my hand with the wet glue before I could slide it into place on the frame. You can move it around. The glue's still a little bit slick there. And this is where a lot of that pressing it around the edge, lightly pressing it down in any grooves, where you can make that mold become part of that frame, but do it gently. I also made some mushrooms and added those on the bottom. Once I had it painted, I went with my Dixie Belle brown wax. Best dang wax and brown. It's waterproof, so it'll dry pretty quick. Hand painted the mushrooms. Now for some copper gilding wax. This is petroleum based, so you don't need anything over the top, but it is going to take a little bit to dry and become one. At least a good 5 days, depending on your weather conditions where you have it. So I'm just rubbing this along the outside edge as well, all along those flourishes. I did not put anything on the mushrooms, and there we have it. The next thing, I have some Loctite glue, some jute, some scissors, my glue gun, and one of the glass vases. And I want to try to wrap this with some jute. Now I started with just smearing on all four sides some of this heavier glue that's multi-purpose for everything, but you have to take a Q-tip and remove a spot so you can put your hot glue there to carefully start where you're going to lay that first rope down and set it in there nice and even and give yourself a good start. And you're gonna wrap that around the bottom and slowly work your way up. So this was why I used that other glue, because I wanted this to be all firm. So until that sets up for me, you have to be real careful. And on the way around it, occasionally I would put two sides with the hot glue just to help hold it snug and pull it tight, and just go all the way to the top and then finish off with your hot glue. Here was the tray that I picked out for $4, and I have it all ready to go and paint it up. And I decided it looked like honeycomb. So I found myself some bees, and I applied these bee transfers. And this was a little bit more of a challenge because these bees have little appendages and little antenna. So carefully getting them off was a little bit tricky. And at one point, I just used my fingernail, which worked a little bit better because this was curved in a couple areas on its way down. And I wanted to make sure my transfer was on there completely and not broken. This was the whole haul that I took to my booth. Hey, it's diys-by-dar, and I am going to take you through my thrift haul of last weekend. I've had a week to work on everything. I spent $40, so I will let you know after I put it in my booth how much money that I did make on all the pieces once they sell. So let's start with the vases, which I did tell you guys this was what I was going to do with them. And these were just the glass vases. And I ended up actually getting 4 of them done in one day. So if you want to know how to do this, I am going to leave in the description the link to the video that goes over how to create this type of vase. Very, very easy. Very, very cool. I did purchase some baskets, and here's the first one. Turned out really nice. Looks very, very Indian in origin, and I went ahead and I painted the bottom and on the inside with terracotta color and painted this band turquoise. I had to take the rope off one side, so then just to match it up I had to take it off the other side, and so I went ahead and I did the rope around it, and then I just added these little tassels on the end. And also on the inside and the outside on what I painted with the mineral paint, chalk mineral paint from Dixie Belle, I put 2 coats of gator hide on it, inside and outside, just to help with protection and to also give it help it along with some more waterproof. Here was another $2 basket that I purchased, and I went ahead and I gave it a couple coats of coffee bean, and I went ahead and put the 2 coats of gator hide on both sides to help with protection. But then what I did is I went ahead, and it had like some little spaces here, I went ahead and I weaved the rope all through there on both sides, and then just left the ends as tassels. Probably not going to do too much with this basket. I may put a bow on the front. It wasn't in the best shape on the bottom there, so I probably will only put $8.99 for a price tag on this one. Love the color on this one. This was another $3 basket, and I painted it with the Dixie Belle chalk paint. I want to say farmer something, some kind of green, farmer green. Gosh, sorry, can't remember the name of that one. This one was another $3 basket, and this one gave me a little more fun because I decided I was going to try to put transfers on it. And on the front here, let's see, herbarary, a herbarary, French, I'm sure. And then I just added all little botanicals all across the handle, all the way across the top, and then just threw some little flowers in there for color. So that one turned out really nice. And then here was that awful, terrible, dirty basket. If you remember, I showed the inside, what it looked like. Now it's all nice and clean. I couldn't take the bottom out. It was hammered in by all these tiny little nails around this little strip of bamboo. And if I would have taken those out, I am afraid that it just would have really split to try to get it back in. So I left it, just cleaned it really well, and ended up putting 2 coats of Boss on the bottom, some primer and sealer before I went ahead and painted this. I did use silk paint on this. I want to say that the color was oyster. I spray painted the lid because I wanted it to match. Let's see if you can see that. All those little sketchings on the outside, and how I got that was I put a paint inlay on the outside of this. I wanted to give it a try. Of course, I knew it wasn't gonna go in every little one and look like the pattern, but I've never done a paint inlay before, so I was just gonna experiment with it and see how it went. Lid there on the top matches nicely, and it did turn out to be a pretty cool little basket, but I did pay $7 for that one. Okay, do you guys remember the picture frames? That one and this one. This was $6 for this frame, and this frame I believe was $2 or $3. And I just went ahead and painted it with silk in the color Wharf, and went ahead and used some gilding wax and copper along the top, and went ahead and used the IOD transfers that has the little fairies in it, which was part of their Christmas edition. So that just turned out really, really cool. I like it. I wish I had a spot to keep it. As well as this one, which also had the color Wharf in it, and I made the top embellishments with DOS clay in the bottom with the mushrooms and hand painted them to be realistic. Added the little fairies. The last pieces right here. I did take just some of them glass jars and went ahead and added the rope. In a square one. And then the tray that I really, really liked, I thought I was going to keep it. Once I washed it, it had a couple spots in it that were just, the paint was completely removed. So I had to do something with it. I went ahead and I scrubbed it up and went ahead and added some primer on it. I believe I used Slick Stick on this just because it was metal. And then I went ahead and put 3 coats of drop cloth from Dixie Belle paints on it. And went ahead and added my little bead transfers, which will give you a little view of them. And I'm sorry, I don't know which company I got these from. And then I went ahead and sealed it with 3 coats of gator hide so it would really hold up and it would give it some waterproof that it would need if you're going to be setting things on there. And then the final was taking some gold gilding wax and going in each one of the little holes so it looks like honeycomb, and then out around on the top of the handles, which I just left alone, and then a little bit around the edges. So that is my $30 haul, and I'm planning on going thrifting again. Maybe when I do a big round, I'll take you guys with me along the trip. So hey, see you on the next one. Like and subscribe. I'm going to try to get a video out every Sunday. So far, so good.